This is a player who has missed 31 games over the past 5 years due to a litany of injuries, including a surgery on his throwing shoulder and about 4 different issues with his right lower leg, including that foot surgery we just talked about just a moment ago. I mean, look at this. When you have the body map out, you know that the player has been through some stuff recently. All right, so Jeff, let's discuss what that injury impact in history has meant as it pertains to his contract with the Raiders.
Well, a foot surgery this offseason, Field, has certainly put his offseason into question in terms of how much he can do. The Raiders, though, at the time of the signing, also put protections in the contract for Garoppolo to make sure that if for some reason this foot situation goes sideways, that they will have those protections. Now, I've spoken to people in the organization who don't feel like that's going to be necessary, that this feels more like a business protection than anything else. Of course, though, we can't take for granted the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo does have a history of injuries. So we will watch this very, very closely. We will monitor whether he's ready during training camp. And certainly the Raiders hoping that that surgery heals up in time for him to not only learn the offense during camp, but to be ready for week 1 of the regular season.
So, Tim, can the Raiders count on Jimmy G, whether it's for week 1 or for the entirety of this upcoming season?
For the entirety of this upcoming season, no, Field. Look, the reality is I mean, you said it. When you break out the body map to be like, good. Look, here's the story. It paints the picture, and then the hard, reality of it. The older you get, the harder it is to stay healthy. It doesn't get easier the more injuries you've overcome. And so, look, you just even look at his time in San Francisco. If he were able to stay healthy, they would have never gone after Trey Lance. The big issue was he wasn't available enough for them there. And so I just think that ends up being the challenge. And so can you count on him? No, you can't. You just that's the facts, and that's why you got to have other guys ready to play.
Well, I'm just ecstatic that y'all use that my body contour to show those injuries. My body looks like that, just without the injuries, man. Listen, Jimmy G availability, babyface. Where am I supposed? Is this Derek Carr now we talking about?
Just
or
more
is this
Jimmy
still
G.
On Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, we're still on Jimmy G.
Okay, listen. Tim hit the nail on the head. It's availability. Yeah. Like we know that there's stability with Jimmy Garoppolo and McDaniels. We understand. I felt like Derek Carr they were too quick and enamored with getting rid of Derek Carr, who I think is a really good quarterback in this league. But when you look at how my excitement was in that video coming up, it was about the rapport that McDaniels and Jimmy G has. And Jimmy G is solid and surrounded by what we thought he would be surrounded by. You thought that the Las Vegas Raiders had hit a home run with what was available to them. But it's what Tim said. You cannot count on availability with Jimmy Garoppolo based on his history. So I think Vegas is in a world of hurt when it comes to that, because we've talked about this AFC ad nauseum, and without a quarterback that's healthy, you stand no chance.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, the Raiders didn't make a necessarily big financial bet on Jimmy G. The contract's maximum value, not that expensive relative to quarterbacks. Jeff referenced how they can get out of it very easily, but it does feel like a big bet in the sense that they moved on from a known quantity in Derek Carr, who's a rock-solid quarterback, to a player in Jimmy Garoppolo who brings the questions that each of these guys has already referenced.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.